has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
It's Ferrall Coast to Coast in the biggest way possible right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us on a Friday, a pain-free Friday on C2C as we get you ready for the weekend. Mike Carver here with you. Carver, hi. Scotty will be here momentarily. He is in the mix today, and we will get back rocking with him in a little bit. We have a lot going on today. As always, huge lineup today. Gabe Morency, as always, will join us in the first hour from Vancouver. Go through a lot with him, including the hockey. Andrew Lano, with a little golf in the second hour. We'll talk to him. Dennis Bernstein, Elvis, is in the building. Later on, final hour, top of the final hour, from, of course, NHL Radio and the fourth period. And also in the final hour, our man Scott Miller, longtime MLB columnist, contributor for the New York Times, as spring training has begun. Everyone is reporting. Most of the big names have now signed, and we are going to be ready to roll with him today. So Gabe, Lano, Bernstein, Miller, everybody rocking with us today on C2C. We have, of course, a lot to do. We'll talk all about the hockey. USA smashing Finland last night. Actually was a good game for two periods. And then the United States took over in the third period. You had double two-goal performances by the Tkachuk brothers, Brady and Matthew. Gensel with the goal as well in the third period in that first 30 seconds. And away the USA went for a nice, clean 6-1 win over Finland as they will get ready for the big matchup tomorrow night. USA and Canada in Montreal. Both teams with a victory in their first game. Remember, USA won in regulation 3 points. Canada won in overtime 2 points, so they do have a little bit of an advantage over them going into this. We'll give you the numbers later on. Minus 110 both ways right now. Should be a raucous atmosphere at the Bell Center, so we will cover all of those bases today on Coast to Coast as well. And the afternoon game's great too. We know Canada and USA, major rivalry, hockey terms, both hate each other. Sweden and Finland, also major hockey rivalry, and the loser of that game is going to be pretty much finished in this Four Nations face-off. So a lot on the line when you look at those two things. So plenty of hockey today here on C2C. NHL back next Saturday, remember, so another week where we'll have some Four Nations games without the NHL. The NBA also has hit their all-star break after last night. We'll go through all of the games there. Big win for the Warriors. They needed it going into the break, 3-1 since they got Butler in-house, and they end up beating the Rockets in Houston. There was a couple overtime games as well last night. Clippers needed some extra time to beat the Jazz. But now the focus shifts to San Francisco this weekend, all-star weekend, and we know it's really a big dog and pony show that they have out there. They've tried to change the format a little bit this year, maybe get you a little bit more excited. The Rising Stars tonight, they've split them into 3 teams. They've brought a G League team in, so they're going to play a little 4-team tournament this evening. All the rookies and sophomores are going to be out there. McClung's playing for the G League, which I think is going to be coached by Jeremy Lin tonight. And the winner of tonight will move to Sunday, where they will get a chance to compete against the NBA All-Stars, who have also been split into 3 teams. And they're going to play these games to 40. Going to be quick. It's going to be basically like 3 mini games. We'll get 3 mini games tonight, 3 mini games on Sunday, and the NBA is going to try to give you a big show. Don't forget, they're going to give you the Saturday night skills competition as well, the dunk contest with a bunch of guys you've never heard of, and the three-point contest. You actually have guys going for three-peats in both of those. McClung for the dunking, Damian Lillard for the three-point. So we have the numbers for all of that today on Coast to Coast. We will get you set up for All-Star Saturday, Rising Stars tonight, and the game on Sunday as well, even though it's the All-Star break. And then they won't be back until Wednesday. Lakers-Hornets Wednesday night, full slate on Thursday night for the NBA. Huge weekend of college rack as well. We'll go through a couple of things from last night, of course. Man, I was on that Anteaters game. Every time I backed the Anteaters the last few weeks, they've let me down. But they had some tip in at the buzzer to beat the Gauchos last night. That was a great game. Maryland did win in Nebraska against the Huskers. Good win for them. But you look at the heavy hitter games this weekend, including none bigger than number 1 versus number 2. Auburn and Alabama. Game is in Tuscaloosa. Alabama minus 1.5 right now. Both teams incredible. 22-2 for Auburn, 21-3 for the Tide. That will get you going. That's Saturday, 4 o'clock East. Rocking there. Plenty of other good games. Houston visiting Arizona, who has been playing really well. Vandy going to Tennessee. So Mississippi State and Ole Miss, the Egg Bowl on the hardwood. You have that rolling as well for college basketball on Saturday. Kentucky, Texas as well, if the Kentucky coming off of that win. And Michigan, Ohio State Sunday. And can you not forget, 2 best teams in the Big East on Sunday as well. St. John's off the loss to Villanova. Going to be playing Creighton on Sunday at the Garden. Have to see if Luke's making an appearance for that one. That's a 3 o'clock start on Sunday afternoon out at the Garden. Daytona, how could you forget? The Great American Race is taking precedence over St. John's and Creighton for Luke on Sunday. I cannot believe that. Yes, we did not leave out the Great American Race. We will have some numbers for that as well on C2C today, as they will be going on Sunday, a tradition unlike any other. The Daytona 500 coming up this week, the start of the NASCAR season, always right after the Super Bowl. We get you cooking there. And the golf is happening. The Genesis Invitational down at Torrey Pines, as we've talked about the last few days. As of right now, you look at the top of this leaderboard, and it's pretty interesting. As I just saw, I think that was Patrick Rogers just got to 5 under. Your boy, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, got to 5 under, so he's in the lead right now. Davis Thompson and Dangerous Denny McCarthy are right behind him at 4 under. Scotty Scheffler at 3 under, sitting in 4th. Seamus Power, Nicky Dunlap, and Sam Burns at 2 under. The main thing I see when I look at a board like that is if that's what's going to be hanging around Scotty Scheffler on Saturday and Sunday as the conditions slowly get better down there at Torrey Pines. And look, it was brutal yesterday. There's no rain today, but the place is basically underwater. It rained so much last night. The sun was out before. It looks like it's getting a little gray now and the wind's picking up, but it's supposed to be improved. Scheffler against guys like Patrick Rogers, Davis Thompson, Denny McCarthy, Nicky Dunlap, that's going to be very tough for some of those other guys to overcome with Scotty staring them down. So we need some of these bigger names. Rory's only a couple, but Rory's 1 under. If he can get a little run today, and he's very early, he's got a lot of holes to play, maybe he can get himself involved too. We'll look at his number later on. So we have a very full slate on C2C. We've got it all covered. We've got the hockey with the 4 Nations this weekend. We have NBA All-Star Weekend. We have a huge weekend of college rack, including number 1 versus number 2. We've got the golf. We've got the Daytona 500. All of it lines up for us. Morency, Leno, Elvis in the building from Montreal as well. I get the feel from Denny. Denny, of course, has been there for all these games so far, and it's been an electric atmosphere, booing the hell out of the United States last night. They're going to get a lot more of that tomorrow night when they face Canada. So a good doubleheader that we will have. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Friday. We get you rocking on the grid right after this.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High. Finally, I'm back in the scene here. Disastrous start to the Daytona 500 for me, with everything just crashing on a pain-free Friday. What a way to start the show. So at least we got it going. Mafia saves the day. It was just a absolute nightmare. I was in here. I thought I was going to have a stroke. I tried to calmly go through it without breaking into a full sweat, but I was able to do it. Now we have Morency in Vancouver off of that nightmare. Anyway, Gabe, last night the USA trounced Finland in the Four Nations. What did you think of that game?
Well, they trounced them in the third period of play. That game was a lot closer than the final score would have indicated. The Finnish dam just broke, Scott. Saros is a streaky goalie, all right? And he hasn't been very good for a couple of years. Let's just call it out for what it is. And he was fine, right, for the first basically 40 minutes of the hockey game. And once he let in a bad goal, the wheels just absolutely fell off. I mean, that was a 1-1 game with 3 minutes left in the second period of play. Finland were taking it to the U.S. in the second period of play, and it looked like they were going to take the lead. And it was like, oh, boy, here we go again. Looks like we could have another overtime game. So I think it was a little deceptive, the final score. USA looked good, though. I'm not taking anything away from their win, but 6-1. I mean, put it this way, I had the under 6.5, and I'm still upset about that. Like, I cannot believe that it went from 1-1 with like 3:30 left in the second period of play to they scored the late goal, so they made it 2-1. And it's like, okay, we're going to go to the third period 2-1. But Finland took a penalty, guys, with 0.2 seconds left in the period. It was a really stupid thing to do. Like, it was a justifiable penalty. They tripped Matthews in the slot. Thing is, the period was coming to an end, and the puck was, like, in the corner. Like, there was no need to trip Matthews, but they did. The Finns, like, take a lot of penalties. So 2 seconds left. You got a 2-1 game, Scott, and then it took the U.S., give them credit, 15 seconds to bury it on the power play. Boom, 3-1. And then before they could even announce the next goal, they scored again by just flicking at the puck. Saros was clearly rattled after the power play goal, and then boom, he gave up another one, then another one, and they've already announced they're going to start Lankinen. Kevin Lankinen will be the starter for Finland against Sweden. Easy to say now, Scott, but Lankinen has played great hockey for the Vancouver Canucks this year, but they go with the vet guys that have been there before in this stuff, right? In hockey, there's a sense of loyalty. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Saros has been our guy in the past. Maybe once he puts the jersey on, he'll play better. And he did until he didn't. And that'll be a big key tomorrow, Scott, in the massive tilt between the USA and Canada is you know what you're going to get from Connor Hellebuck. What are you going to get from Jordan Binnington? Right? Binnington was good, not spectacular in Canada's first game against Sweden. And he's going to have to be spectacular. He's going to have to find a way to be better on Saturday night.
So what'd you think of the Tkachuk brothers, seeing those two go off?
They are the American team. Like, that's the epitome of American hockey. You know, going back to his father, Keith Tkachuk, right? This is sort of the next step. Like, if you think of Keith, if you remember, Scott, Jeremy Roenick and Keith Tkachuk and Chris Chelios and these guys, all good, all, you know, cool guys to have a drink with, all like extreme hotheads, right? And remember when the USA, they put together this awesome team. They went to the Olympics. It was the 98 Olympics. Canada lost to Dominic Hasek. Hasek ended up winning, and the USA got bounced. But where I'm going with this is they trashed the room after. The U.S. used to be like kind of, you know, they were always talented, but they were easily agitated and provoked. Like the U.S. would fall apart. They were overly emotional. They would take penalties and end up in a box. The Tkachuks, they know how to like package this, Scott. They're like a wrecking crew, but they don't take bad penalties. That was the thing last night. Like that was a 1-1 game for most of the game. And the USA did a great job of staying disciplined because Finland Finland found something in the game, Scott, last night where they were running the Americans. Like, they were beating the crap out of them. Like, they were cheap shotting them. They were cross-checking them. They were running them. They were hitting anything that moved. And you could tell the Americans were a little rattled. They couldn't get the puck. Their puck possession was really shaky in the second period. And I tweeted about it during the game. I said, past American teams would start, like, slashing back. And they'd start, like, doing dumb things and put themselves in the box. So I think this Mike Sullivan, Scott, I want to give him credit. The U.S. were extremely disciplined last night. And if you'll notice, too, when it was 1-1, they didn't get frustrated and start to, like, try to play one-on-one hockey. They really did stick to their game plan, and it eventually broke through and ended up with a 6-1 win. So impressive stuff from Team America last night.
So now you've seen Canada win in overtime over Sweden, and you've seen the U.S. figure out Finland finally and finish them off. And tomorrow it all goes down between the USA and Canada. Which one do you think has the edge after what you've seen so far?
I don't really know if there is an edge, Scott, to be honest. I would have to say maybe just a, 5% edge to Team Canada because it is in Montreal and it is going to be like a supercharged emotional building. This isn't your typical just sort of home ice. So Canada is going to have this push behind them, but it should be noted next week the tournament switches to Boston, right? So, the roles could be reversed next week. I don't know, Scott. The U.S. team are embracing the role of the villains. All right, they're the favorites. You've got the political stuff going on right now. They're begging people in the building not to boo the national anthems. Last night it wasn't bad. There was still, there's a lot of hostility in the air. So there's pressure on both teams. Now you mentioned Tkachuk. Tkachuk said, we love being the villain. This is fine. We're the USA. We love being the villain. This is our role. And you got Canada under a ton of pressure, Scott. So I would say there's more pressure on Canada. USA are kind of playing with house money a little bit tomorrow night, I think, to be honest with you.
So they were still booing the U.S., the anthem, the players. They were cheering for Finland, and that didn't go so well for them. We'll see what happens tomorrow night at the Bell Center.
slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scover and when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs had a 5.5 game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5 game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
So we're talking to Morency in Vancouver on C2C on a Pain-Free Friday. Good to have you with us. So, Gabe, I can't get into this NBA All-Star Weekend at all. I mean, literally at all. I know they got their celebrity game. I looked at the rosters. I knew like 2 people. Then they have this Rising Stars game. Like, with that great hockey going on, and I know it's not going on tonight, I still can't get into that NBA weekend stuff. It just completely, I'm uninterested. I have not one lick of interest in any of it. Like that stupid celebrity game, the Rising Stars games, any of it. I can't get into it. All I care about, swear to God, is that hockey game tomorrow night. And it's not till tomorrow night. So I'm like, I'm tripping. I'm going to watch Indiana play tonight, UCLA. I'm not watching that NBA stuff.
You know, growing up, I've always been a big All-Star Game fan. Like, I love the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, the NBA All-Star Game. I went to Kobe's last All-Star Game, and it was epic, right? And you had players trying. The slam dunk contest that was in Toronto was maybe the last good one, Scott. Remember with Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine? It was, like, epic. Like, they were jumping over, like, mascots and, like, 360s, and it was like a battle. It was like a street rap battle. It was epic. I was thinking about this, and I tweeted about this morning, Scott. I almost think that, like, that was the last good All-Star game when, like, Kobe was there. Like, because there was sort of an expectation, a level. Remember in the old days, Scott, I'm not even saying not old, but like 15 years ago even, dude, like, it was like, I remember, like, Russell Westbrook gunning for the MVP. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember, like, Michael Jordan in the old days. No, I'm the best, and we're playing against the best. I'm going to be the best. Like, it was a thing. It was like, no, I'm going to be the NBA All-Star Game MVP because I'm a badass. Like, if you look at, like, the list of players, and the players over the years just care less and less and less and less and less. And you and I grew up watching Dr. J and Dominique Wilkins and, and Michael Jordan. Like, guys, Michael Jordan participated in the slam dunk contest, right? Vince Carter made his career off it. Vince Carter never won a title in his career. Hell, Vince Carter won very few playoff series in his career. Like, what did Vince Carter do in his life? All right? You know, he's known as a dunker, right? As a dunker. And the modern era, no offense to McClung and these guys, Scott. You want people to pay? You want me to pay $1,400 or $1,800 to get in the building to watch a G League guy dunk the ball? What are we doing here? Like Adam Silver, all these other commissioners get ripped all the time. Like the NBA All-Star Weekend is an effing joke. I'm with you. I used to bet $2,000 on the over, and I can't wait for the old Magic Johnson versus Isaiah Thomas and Pitt. They're all there. Now, it's like, whatever, bro. And then he'd even make it even confusing. And you know what? All right, Chuck, Kenny, and these guys, they do a good job on the show, Scott. Doesn't mean they need to be part of everything in the NBA.
But they are.
Like, modern NBA players don't even like them. They're like, shut up, old man. We get it. Blah, 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 blah. You talk all the time. Like, the modern player doesn't even like these guys, yet they're involved in it because they think, well, nobody else is popular. You couldn't get Caitlin Clark to be in the three-point contest like the WNBA versus NBA like last year. That was epic. So you just gave up on it, Scott. Well, we can't get Caitlin. I guess there's no one else right in the world, right? You couldn't find one other WNBA player that can shoot a three ball. You just gave up on it. Oh, well, no, okay. So what are we watching? Okay, the three-point competition will be somewhat cool, but as if I'm watching that instead of USA, Canada, and hockey, Scott. And then from a betting perspective, I'm a degenerate. I love betting on this stuff. I used to bet on the NBA All-Star Game every year, put huge money on the over, Scott. I don't even know what the format is now. You got a bunch of teams split into this and that. Even your rookie sophomore game that used to be cool. Used to be fun, right? You know what I mean? It was nice and simple. Rookies versus sophomores. Let's rock. Now, let's break it into 4 teams and have a little mini tournament. And nobody even knows what you're freaking betting on anymore. It's hard, Silver, figure it out, bro. Like, everybody picks on Manford and Bettman and Goodell. I mean, the NBA just keeps on going down. Like, if this is an elevator, you're not going up. You're going down. And I don't care how much money your players make. The fact of the matter is you've got apathy in the world for your league because if you guys and your players don't care about it, how the hell am I supposed to care about it, Scott?
Yeah, and we got to beg them to try. People are begging them this weekend to try hard and to play hard, and none of them ever do. It's a joke.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Road management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High. Obviously, we'll start with the NBA since we're talking about it. But here's the thing. I can appreciate everything that Gabe just said about the league and the weekend, the game itself, and all their other shenanigans that they get involved with. But there's no denying that it's gone downhill. There's no denying that they don't care. The game itself it's been a joke, and it's been for a while a joke. It's been going on for, in my opinion, well over a decade, where it just is it's nonsense. And the game is not a game. And not only that, they're all laughing, and it's the weirdest thing watching it. And it keeps getting higher and higher, the score. There's no defense. I think it's pathetic. I really do. And I think they have, frankly, a massive problem with it. I looked at that thing tonight, those celebrity teams. Literally, I knew, I'm not even kidding. I knew two of the people on the roster. I think Terrell Owens was one of them. Barry Bonds or something. I've never heard of any of these people. Okay, whatever, you're old, blah, blah, blah. I don't get into celebrities that I've never heard of. Honestly, you're not a celebrity if people haven't heard of you. Honestly, I've heard of everyone. And I don't know who these people are. I have no clue who they are. Where do they find these people? In a lake? I don't understand what's going on.
Well, nobody watches that anyway. And I know we say that all the time about this stuff. That legitimately nobody watches. I know we sit around and say nobody watches the actual All-Star game. There are some people that actually do. Legitimately, nobody watches the dopey celebrity game. Nobody's going to be in on that tonight. So there's nobody who's going to be watching I saw T.O. and Barry Bonds, and they had all this little San Francisco flavor to it. Nobody cares about that. I think that you've had it 10 years now. It's been a bit of a wreck. I don't mind that on Friday night they try to show you some of their younger up-and-coming stars that they're trying to maybe push a little bit, whether tonight it be the Thompson brothers and these few other guys. I don't think that that's the worst thing in the world for them to go and do that. But tomorrow night is where they've ruined their weekend. Because I don't know if Gabe brought this up with you just now, or I know he tweeted it earlier. When the Major League Baseball does the home run derby, they don't send, Connor Joe and, John Birdie, and they don't send the 25th guy on every baseball team to go do the home run derby and think people are going to tune in. That's what the NBA does now for their slam dunk contest. There's no one, you can't pick these guys out of a lineup. Yes, Stephon Castle, fine. People know Castle's might be the rookie of the year this year, fine. They've got one guy. You couldn't pick the other guys out of a lineup, and it's been that way for 15 years now. You got to have some of these guys who are in the game that people know who they are be in the dunk contest.
Or get rid of it. Get rid of it.
And why have it? Just get rid of it. Nobody wants to watch. Mac McClung, Winver, nobody cares. So they've ruined it themselves by not forcing at least 4 or 5 guys in a game. Listen, you got, do the dunk contest, and we can't ask you again for 5 years or something like that. Make it something like that. Guys got to be able to do it at least once.
It's unbelievable. I'll tell you another thing. You and I know who Castle is. I think real hardcore basketball fans know who he is from UConn, but I don't really think anybody overall in the world knows who that dude is. He's nobody.
The Fairweather fan that you're trying to attract on All-Star Weekend is not going to know who Stephon Castle is. They're just not. They are tuning in this weekend to see LeBron, to see Joker, to see Jalen Brunson. That's who the Fairweather fan wants to see on All-Star Weekend. They don't want to see Stephon Castle, Mac McClung, and I don't even know who the hell the other 2 guys are being in a dunk contest on Saturday night. They just don't want to see it.
When is the last time, be honest with me, when is the last time you watched the dunk contest? I mean, for me, I'm being straight up honest. It's been 20 years. I don't care about the dunk. It's the whole thing. I wouldn't watch it if you paid me. This thing tonight, the skills competition, the 3-point shot. The only thing is, I saw the highlights last year of Curry and Ionescu. I could care less. Honestly, the game itself is so bad. It really is so bad, that game. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I wouldn't watch it if they duct tape me to a chair. I mean, I will not watch that over something better. And believe me, there's many things better. There's movies, there's this, there's that. I'm not watching some crappy game where no one tries and no one plays defense. It's a disaster. It
is a disaster. No, it 100% is. And in the last 25 years, the only
I'm
dunk
not selling
contest
that thing for people. I'm not selling it for this, that, anybody. I'm not going to sit on here and lie through my teeth that it's some great event. I'm sure somebody around here will sell it to you that it's the greatest thing on earth and that we should all be betting on it. My ass. I'm not betting on that garbage. No thanks.
Yeah,
I'm not
the
stupid.
only two in the last 25 years I ever remember being like, you got to watch this, is the Vince Carter one, when Vince Carter was in it way back now. And I remember Blake Griffin jumping over the car that year that Blake Griffin did it. Like, other than that, like, there's just not much that you remember for any of these guys.
I can't even remember the dudes, but I remember Spud Webb.
Spud.
That I liked.
Yeah.
I liked watching him dunk. Muggsy Bogues.
In the old days, you of course remember. I mean, Jordan and Dominique Wilkins and those guys doing the dunk contest. It was a must-see event. You know, that's what it became.
Is it true that no one cares anymore about these players in this league? Like, no one cares about them. Like, who do you care about? Like, you're so engulfed in their greatness. You can't just get enough. Like, I have been watching LeBron James now for 20 plus years. I don't even care about him. Like, it's like, can we get someone else? That's why I'm like Shea Gilgeous. That's the guy that I want to, take the flame and run with it, because how many times do I have to sit through the LeBron James 3-hour night where it's all about LeBron James or Bronny or, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. It's just like Patrick Mahomes. I couldn't, they stuffed him so far down my throat that I grew to hate him, but for no reason. I have no reason to hate that kid, but I can't stand him. And I watched the game on Sunday. I wanted him to get hurt. I wanted him to break his neck. I wanted to break his leg. I wanted him to get ragdolled and have his face smashed in. Like I don't care about these people. They shove them down our throats like nothing else. They just can't stop. And I mean, how about this? They have been talking about Aaron Rodgers for 4 days in a row that he's not coming back to the Jets. I'm like, Jesus Christ, is there anything else in the world that you can come up with to talk about than Aaron Rodgers? I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen sports this bad. I have, in my career, have never seen sports news this bad, or sporting events. The Super Bowl was awful. This All-Star weekend, it's already awful. It hasn't even started yet.
If I told you that SGA hockey was great. If I told you that SGA, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, and Wembanyama were the 4 guys doing the dunk contest tomorrow night, would you watch? Probably.
Yes.
You'd probably watch Anthony Edwards, SGA, Wembanyama,
and
and Jason Tatum do it.
I don't care a rat's ass about Matt McClung or whatever his name is.
That is where they have lost.
He's not even in the league.
And it's starting to happen for baseball, too, with the homers, because now Judge did it once. He doesn't want to do it anymore. Otani's done it a couple. He doesn't want to do it anymore. You know, it's going to slowly start to happen for baseball.
With prima donnas.
As well.
They don't want to do anything. Look at this guy Stroman. He didn't even show up for camp.
Hey,
and he sucks.
We got him later on.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round-robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Listen, Mike, I know we got to get to the NBA scores and everything, but I got to prove my point right now. So they're interviewing a guy called E4. Now, no offense to him, they're saying he's a legend in the Bay Area, and his company, Sick With It Records. I also don't know what that is. Now, when I watched the Super Bowl, I told you, I tweeted out, it shows my age, how old I am. I'm out of touch. I have no idea about not even one Kendrick Lamar song. I've never heard, my daughter knows them all. I don't know one. But E40, they got this guy on right now. He's a legend. A legend of what? I have never heard of him in my life. And that's who they got. They're selling me this guy, some fat guy I've never heard of, as a legend. Now, listen, there is a thing called, what makes a legend most? Well, it makes a legend most when everyone knows who you are. And when you're a legend, just a legend, like what ESPN's showing right now, that's when you know you really don't matter. When you're a legend, when no one knows who you are. And I mean, I've never heard of him. I don't even know who it is. I swear to God, I went down the list of celebrities, and I only knew 2 of them, T.O. and Barry Bonds. That's how bad it is, this thing. And they got some guy on now. I've never heard of him. I mean, it's bad enough I don't know who Kendrick Lamar is. I know who Kendrick Lamar is. I just said I've never heard one of his songs. So when he did his show, I was like, man, he's great. Yeah, and my daughter knew all the songs, and she was like singing them, and I was like, never heard of him, honestly. And then I said to her, this guy can't hold Prince's onions. Do you remember when Prince did Purple Rain at the Super Bowl in the pouring rain? Like God made it rain, and Prince had his purple guitar out and he was jamming. Nothing will ever top that, including any rapper or rocker or top 40 pop star in the history of the world. It'll never happen again. It happened once. That was the greatest performance ever of anyone in a halftime of a Super Bowl ever. And then you know what they do? These NFL executives, they've been trying to top that every year since. And they just can't do it because they're all a bunch of white morons. They think they're cool and hip, and they can't even get like someone that really is actually with it to tell them what to do. Like, get someone that's really cool to, like, I guess it was cool with Dre and Snoop, but honestly, the Snoop thing for me is overcooked too. What isn't he on? He's on every commercial, every show, like, after a while, it's just like burnt toast to me. I can't take it anymore. Like, same thing with the Kelseys and the same thing with the Mannings. Like, after a while, doesn't anyone in television that runs these companies say, hey, listen, maybe we're just running too many of these Manning commercials. You know what I mean? Like, after a while, that stupid kick thing they did was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Not only that, neither one of them could kick. They literally had to move the ball to the 5-yard line so they could kick it through. My daughter could have kicked it through from 30, but these two losers couldn't do it. I mean, honest to Christ, television is so bad now. It really is. And then you wonder why they're sucking 30 out of us for every streaming service on the face of the earth, because you can't watch regular television because it sucks so bad. And I'm right.
Yeah. Even they're hitting you with ads now.
Oh, my God.
On the
E40.
streaming services. All right, let's quickly. There's only a few.
You don't know who that is either.
I have no idea. I don't know anybody is. I live in a different world with an 8 and a 4-year-old.
You live in Strong Island, son.
I'm in a completely different world when it comes to pop culture. Okay, I'm in. Right, I got the Lilo and Stitch live action movie coming out in a couple months. Like that's like marked on the calendar around here. Like that's what I got going on. Is that so? No, I don't know anything about E40 or any of these other guys that are cooking. All right, quickly, a bunch of stuff from last night. Warriors beat the Rockets. So much for I'm going to sit all my veterans before the All-Star break. Steph Curry, 4-point play, NBC Sports Bay Area.
All you can do is laugh to keep from crying. But Steph Curry hitting a three and drawing a foul in the corner. An opportunity for a 4-point play. And Jason Tate.
All right, so now they're 3-1 since they got Jimmy lymphoma. Stop the press. The Warriors are going to win the championship. That's not happening either. Like, if they played the Celtics right now, they would be swept.
I agree with that. In fact, I think if they played a couple teams in the West, I think OKC would probably do that to them. I think there's a couple of teams, maybe even Denver would probably sweep them because they got no answers for Joker. Joker always gets the Warriors down low. Pelicans beat the Kings. So nice job by the Pelicans. They end up splitting these two games with Sacramento. It was a huge night for C.J. McCollum. Your boy hit 7 threes in this game, all the way on his way. He had a 43-point night in the overtime on Pelicans TV.
22 for Sabonis, 24 for Booker. He's open. Good luck. C.J.
He's open. I don't know who was guarding C.J. Keegan Murray was a step or two behind.
Yeah, they're, is a Pelicans win. That'll be the only win they get for the next 2.5, 3 weeks. I mean, I called it. Like, the second game against the Kings, they got their ass smoked the first game, and then they turn around and they win. And at least we hit that. I mean, and no Zion, didn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore who these stars are that don't play. It doesn't team like they just play. Look at the Warriors last night. They win again. Rockets are better than them. The Warriors win. The Mavericks won again, and they have nobody playing. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. The Kings had some good performances, too, in the loss. Sabonis, 22 and 28 boards and 5 dimes. Levine had 32 and 10 dimes. Here's the problem, though. You lose. You lose. Who cares? Good night.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You lost.
Great night,
so
but
it is
you
what
lose.
it is.
It doesn't matter.
Don't matter. Mavs beat the Heat 118-113. So Mavs with a couple of good wins they needed badly at home before the All-Star break. Maybe everybody can settle down there now. Their problem when they come back from the All-Star break is all their big men are down like forever. Gafford, grade 3,
and they got to go
MCL
on the road.
Going to miss 6 weeks. They're in a lot of trouble outside of that All-Star break.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Well, finally, Oak City hit a wall last night at the Target in Minneapolis, Mike.
They certainly did. 116-101. The T-Wolves did beat them going into the break, and we had to play this one today. I'm sure you saw this. You see this Ann Edwards dunk last night? I mean, this thing was huge on TNT.
Keep the ball moving. Edwards drives in on Wiggins. Oh, my. Anthony Edwards! A serious rack attack!
Yeah, I saw it. It was violent. It was serious.
Man. Now, who wouldn't love to see that on Saturday night at the All-Star game? I mean, that dunk right there that he threw down in that game, get that in the dunk contest. Little Anthony Edwards.
I think they need to put a bunch of money on the table for the dunk contest instead of that stupid trophy. You know,
and
put
real
$5-10 million down, and I guarantee guys that come running.
Suddenly they'll start showing up. You won't be able to get any more Mac McClungs in the dunk contest after that. SGA has scored 25 plus in 22 straight games, longest streak in the NBA this season. He has only not reached 25 in 5 of the 52 games the Thunder have played this year. Automatic buckets for SGA, who hits the All-Star break as the leading guy for the MVP in the NBA this year. Nice job by him. And the Clippers beat the Jazz, but they needed overtime to beat the Jazz. 120-116. Norman Powell, who had 41, getting involved on FanDuel Sportsnet West.
Again in attack mode. Again to the rim. Again a finish. It's 40 for Norman Powell.
I mean, this guy is like nobody turning into somebody. I mean, he's been around. It's not like we don't know who Norman Powell is. He's been around and balled. But, boy, he's starting to really pour it in on this Clipper team. He is one of their go-to guys to get buckets. And you get Harden and Powell going on the same night like last night. I'm surprised they even had to go to overtime in Salt Lake.
Yeah, Jazz did play well 2 nights in a row, believe it or not, which is a very rare thing for them. Harden also had 32 with 10 boards and 7 dimes on his way to the Clipper victory. All right, here's where we sit at the break. NBA standings at the All-Star break. There they are for you. Of course, Cleveland and OKC are your 1 seeds. Interesting thing in the East, I've been telling you about the Brooklyn Nets. They are now only one game back in the loss column of the play-in tournament, and Chicago. That's how well Brooklyn played going into the break. On the West side, Phoenix on the outside looking in of the play-in, which has Minnesota, Dallas, Sacramento, and Golden State right
now. Do you think Brooklyn will supersede the Sixers and the Bulls and get in when it's all said and done the way they have Fernandez has this defense going? Like they're winning with defense. They're holding teams under 100 points every night. And do you think they'll jump them? Because people still talk about the Sixers like they're potentially going to win an NBA crown. They are awful. I mean, Paul George has been a disaster, and Embiid never plays. The only guy that does anything is Maxey. Now he's not playing. I mean, do you think the Nets are going to jump those two teams?
I'll give you this. I'll go a little further. I think they're going to jump those two teams. And I got to tell you, I think Philadelphia might get in as well, because I think that Miami is dropping like a rock. I mean, you go and look at them. Miami 2 weeks ago was in the top 6. They have lost 4 in a row, and they are now in the 9 spot. And they're all, look, it's 6 games in the loss. It's a pretty sizable amount between them and the Sixers and Nets, but they've played awful. And I don't see it getting better. Like, it's like this Butler thing really torpedoed their entire season. And I feel like it's like all these guys, it's just coast away time. Like, let's just get this thing over with. Let's get the season over with.
And they're not scoring, right? They're not like they're averaging like a terrible number. They give up a lot. It was funny. We talked about them this very week, that they were in first place in their crappy division. And look at them, they're falling apart. And we suggested on this show that what Butler did to him with his lymphoma was ruin the team. I thought he ruined the Heat, their season, their everything. I thought he undermined Riley, Spo. I think his teammates turned on him. They hated him. They wanted him gone. When he was suspended, they didn't want him back. I think he ruined the Heat season.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.